This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited.
Hello and welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. In it, we talk about what's on our minds, and today we're going to be talking about high school happenings. We've previously done an episode on some of our elementary school experiences and some of our college and university experiences. So now we're back to the middle in high school, and September is just right around the corner here, so it's a great time to be talking about this. I think it's on back to school is on everyone's brains right now.
It's the Unholy Trinity of education episodes.
Yeah. I'm looking at all four of our little floating heads on our video chat that we're doing right now, and remembering the little bit I know about everyone's high school experiences, and from what I know, they're all vastly different from each other. So I think we'll have some good stories. So why don't we all just kind of share where'd you go to high school, and what's something memorable about your high school experience?
Well, I grew up in Riley, a small little town in Alberta, and that's where I did all of my schooling. Almost all of my schooling. And so my high school experience, quote unquote, was a junior high school put together. And so we had grades 7 to 12 in the actual school. But what I consider high school is just grades 10, 11, and 12. The memorable experiences, there were many, but my most memorable experience is probably it was alluded to in one of our previous episodes, and we said that we would tell it here, so I'll just tell it now. So we had a French teacher in grade 10, I think I was in grade 10, that she really disliked children, just really hated kids all together. And so it was really unfortunate because she had like a couple people that she liked, and I guess this is still the experience with her because she still teaches there. Or I guess not anymore because they're doing some different stuff. Anyways, sidetracked. She really disliked children. And so we had a really poor experience with her and hated going to French class, which is unfortunate because French is like a good skill to have in your life. But as an entire class, I think there were only 3 people left out. So a class of about 30, we got together and we were like, we are going to not go to French anymore. So we went on we went on strike. And we just did whatever we wanted during that period. But a lot of us like left school grounds and went uptown and got slushies or whatever. And it was right after lunch, if I recall. And so we just took an extra long double period lunch basically. Mm-hmm. And so, we did this for a few days. And then our vice principal came to us and was like, guys, like, what is happening here? You can't just leave. We're actually in charge of your safety and where you are. And we were like, well, we're not staying there. She's awful and she hates us and we hate her and we're not going there anymore. And so he was like, okay,
yikes.
What kind of solutions can we come up with here? And a few of us were like, well, there's literally no fine arts in our school. So if you gave us an art class or like dance or music or something like that, that'd be great. We'd go to that as long as she wasn't teaching it. And so he was like, okay, give me a couple of days. You don't have to go to French, but you do need to stay on the school property. And so we promised that we would stay on the school property. And he came back and we had 3 options at that point. We could take a second gym class, physical education, or we could go to French, or we could take a class that they just deemed option class. And in the option class, this was only a class until they figured out an art class for us because music, I think, was probably too expensive and dance is way too out there for a small town Alberta. school.
Yeah.
So in option class, we watched movies with our English teacher and painted ceiling tiles. And I think I got 99% because she told me that she couldn't give out 100%.
Classic
But,
teacher move.
Yeah, the next year they had an art class all made for us and it was prepared. And so we made a difference with our unhappiness. Like it was very empowering.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Viva
revolution.
What is that class called now on your transcript? Just option
class? Yes, it is called option class.
Wow. It's like the
As
Twilight
someone
Zone.
who was previously in the College of Education, I have no idea how they did that.
I think they mostly just wanted us to stay at school. So,
Yeah. But there's no curriculum for option
No,
class.
there
That's
certainly
so
wasn't.
interesting.
it
Huh.
was, what movie do we want to watch out of this stack of my English teacher's movies that she brought to school? And that
Mice and Men or of Mice and Men?
Lord of the Rings.
No, there were some good ones. I think that's where I watched one of my first Harry Potter movies.
Mm.
And
Weird.
yeah, and then
It's a book. It's
we
based off
painted
of literature.
Yeah, we painted ceiling tiles that had nothing to do with the movies that we watched.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you. Yeah.
My brain is still reeling on how they managed to do that. I would not want to be the principal in that situation. As
Right.
much as I can completely understand why you guys did what you did, that would be such a tense situation to find yourself.
Oh yeah.
hmm
Yeah. I can't imagine that we made their lives easy. But I mean, as soon as they asked us to stop going off of school property, we did. Like we were pretty good bunch of kids. We just banded together and to right an injustice.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get a group
Yikes.
of whenever Holly tells this story, I always immediately think of her elementary school and like grade 7 or grade 8 or grade 9 kids, but these are like grade 10 or 11 or 12 kids, which
Mm-hmm.
like not that much older, but when you make that leap from, I'm going to speak of it from a city perspective where we have elementary up to grade 8 and then high school is grade 9, but grade 9s are kind of like looked down upon by the rest of the 10s, 11s, and 12s because they're newbies. When you make that leap from grade 7 or 8 to grade 10-ish, there's quite a maturity jump there, even though, you know, like we could argue for days about whether those kids are much more mature than the younger kids, but like there is an actual age jump and like an awareness of the world and all of that comes with those couple of extra years. And so to have those grade 10-ish, grade 11-ish students like all agree on something and be like committed and passionate about it, it's just mind-boggling to me because in our high school, like we went, I don't know, we had like 5 or 6 different classes a day and some of the kids weren't in the same class as us because some kids would go to drama and the other kids that didn't want to do drama went to art or whatever. And so you wouldn't see some of the kids. So you would never have had that time to band together, and nor would any high school students that I would have known of when I was a high school student desire to join together and right a wrong. And like, it's like that's just bizarre. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's like movie material.
It
And like
is.
bad like Hallmark movie like
Hallmark movie material. I don't know if there was a love story in there at all. There's no Hallmark
No.
Christmas movie. Also,
Okay,
it was
well,
spring.
feel good
So
movie
we could
material.
leave.
Then
Yeah.
they banded together to
Coming of age.
to take down the French.
To take down the French.
Yikes.
I know, right?
That's funny.
For me, I guess, with my high school experience, the high school I went to started at grade 7 and went up to grade 12, and there was no like junior or senior high. It was just all labeled high school.
Crazy.
And
Okay.
so that was, and I moved there. So essentially, we moved to, the school was located in North Africa, and my parents were both teachers. And so then we moved to the school, and probably the very first day of high school was probably the worst day of high school.
Aww.
We
That's
got
good that it
there-
got better after
it did
that.
get better, yeah. But we got there like the day before, so we were like super jet lagged.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't know exactly what they were going to be teaching. The school was kind of doing it on sort of a last minute sort of thing. I think it was depending on which slots they could fill. So my dad was potentially, I think, going to teach like computers or something like that, or grade 4. So, it's a bit of a leap.
Those are different.
Yeah, you know what? No, that's pretty similar.
Yeah,
they're exactly the same.
And then it was also summer there, so very hot. And the AC was only in the second floor of our kind of little row townhouse that we were in, and it was also Ramadan, so everyone was fasting during the day, and no shops were open until late. And so we got to school the next morning. And I went to my first class. It was just kind of chaos because I still didn't know exactly where classes were and everything. I think everyone kind of knows that first high school day experience where you're still like, you're kind of lost and you're sort of, you're in a whole new world and you're trying to figure out, okay, now where's my class and where? So
never mind also being in another culture.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, my experience with that is at least everybody around me was speaking English.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it in different language?
No, everyone was there spoke English because the school was in English. It was an international school, but there was still like pretty well, like a good chunk of the people there were locals, so they spoke Arabic as well. So, but yeah, and so I went to my first class, and then somebody called out a bunch of students from the class kind of midway through, and they said, "Kate, you need to go home because you're not wearing a uniform." And so they pointed me actually toward the gate at first. And so I walked toward the gate and I was like, because the principal was actually standing in front of the gate. And I was like, I'm Greg, and my parents are teachers here. This is actually not the way to my house. It's the other way. So
oh, no.
She was like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess they had forgotten to send us the memo that they were planning on doing uniforms that year. And so everybody needed to get uniforms and all of that. So
Holy
that was
smokes.
Like a whole nother thing. And so
Get out.
Yeah. So,
oh, no.
And and then
okay, wait, what grade was this that you were in?
This is grade 8. So
this is grade 8 for you.
Everything's awkward already.
Yeah, and then I know like
well, no, I mean like you're old enough to fend for yourself, but at the same time, it's still like
and then
that's
I think
super intimidating.
She let me go back to classes just because like we didn't know or anything. So, but it's still weird. You're kind of like the little black sheep, because everyone else is like wearing uniforms and is where they should be. And so, and so I know awkward. Arabic class was crazy. Like hearing that I had to learn all of these things by like the next day or something like that, and learning. I think I had to learn the alphabet by the next day, and I was like. I know it starts with Alif because that's like A. So, but after that, I don't know. So, yeah, it was crazy and very exhausting and tiring. I'm pretty sure I probably cried just due to like fatigue and like just tiredness. So,
you're so tired and stressed.
Yeah, but after that first day, once we got a uniform,
was your twin at least with you throughout the day?
I think Mark, I can't remember if he was like in the same, because I know that they split the grades and he may have been in a different
so
you were alone
grade at the time or class at the time. I honestly can't remember. I feel like
that would be something that you would remember if you and Mark experienced that together. You'd be like, and I looked at my twin and we had a look of shock,
Yeah, I honestly can't remember. I know that we eventually like went and I found our parents and talked about it, but yeah, it was a crazy day. Yeah, you're right. It was only uphill from there. So I was able to learn the alphabet by the end of the week and, move forward. And now I know my ABCs and next time I'll wear a uniform. So yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. What was the uniform?
I think it was just like a white shirt and like blue or black pants or something like that. Like it was pretty straightforward, but it
didn't have like the school emblem on it.
They did that I think
like
in a later year where they gave people like badges or whatever that they had to get sewn on. But yeah.
This was the first year that they were doing uniforms?
I think they had done it before, but the thing about the school is that they are super stringent on the rules at the beginning, and then by the end, like kind of like halfway through the year, people are slowly kind of rebelling a bit, and then eventually it just transitions into nobody's wearing the uniform by the end of the year. So
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Everybody's running around the school naked.
Not quite.
It's just not the fight that the teachers want to have. They're like, there are things that are worth more than fighting over your uniform.
Yeah.
By the middle.
So,
that's funny.
So that was my experience. So
that'd be so tough.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yes.
I went to high school in Saskatoon, where we still currently are, and there are dozens of schools in Saskatoon. And so it's this whole interesting culture that I didn't realize about, even though I was in elementary school sports. That there's other elementary schools out there. There's maybe a little bit of competition, but like nobody, like maybe the basketball teams will kind of hate each other or something, like little spats, but like it's elementary school. Nobody cares. When you get into high school, that was a culture that I was not braced for, where there is not hatred of other high schools in the city, but just like it's fierce competition. Like specifically I'm talking about within the sports communities of the schools, but yeah, it was just, that was a thing. That's just I guess a side note, but it was just something that was really bizarre it took me until like into grade 10 or 11 to really come to grasp with, because I was always kind of still like, really, like the teachers are going to beak the other schools during the classroom sessions, like during the actual classes. It's not just the students. That's just interesting. So I know the teachers were probably like try to get on our good side by doing it, but yeah, it was just weird.
Did your if you were on a tech team for your drama musical or something, did you hate the other tech team from the other school's drama musicals?
That's not, I'm not familiar, or I'm not aware that happened.
Or the chess, or the debate club. Did you have a debate club?
We didn't have a debate club.
Oh, that's not as fun.
Or maybe we did for like 1 year when I was there. When I was there, and I feel like everybody probably has these kinds of stories. It was kind of a season of like, I was in high school. Okay, so in the city, high school is grade 9, 10, 11, 12. And so when I was in high school, those 4 years, there was constantly 75% of the things were the same and had always been the same and were going to continue forward the same. But there was a good like 25% of the activities or happenings in the school that were slowly in a transition period from what used to be to what they wanted it to be now. And then there was another portion of that 25% of those things that were transitioning from what they currently were to what they would be. And so it was like most of the things were concrete and set in stone, but there was constantly this like, we're slowly, we're trying to work towards having a school uniform kind of thing, not that we actually did. I'm just using Greg's example, of course, but yeah, so that was interesting. But so all that aside, I think one memorable thing for me was I was in grade 10. Yeah, it would have been grade 10. I decided to join the ambassadorship group for the school, which was a small, it was just one of the many clubs that you could join. And this club was the one that had probably about a dozen kids in it at any given year. It wasn't terribly large. It wasn't anything like the senior, we called them senior ring and pin. It was like the male and female lead of the student council, and they were usually grade 12 students that led the student council that planned the different activities. But the bear ambassadors, which is what we called ourselves because our school mascot was the bears, we were responsible for basically hosting the energy at the events. So the student council would go ahead and plan a football. Well, okay, I guess they wouldn't even plan the football game. They would just plan to arrange for there to be buses to take kids from the school to the football game that the senior football team was having. And then the ambassadorship group would be the ones that showed up alongside with the students and brought the mascot and brought the rest of the ambassadors that could be there had their shirts on that signified them as being part of the ambassador team, and they were the ones that would like work their way through the crowd and like start the waves and start the and like be like the energy for the events. And so then
first time when you said energy, be the energy at the event, I was thinking that you would like put out the crystals and make sure that everyone's auras were clean.
Oh gosh,
energy.
Oh no, I was thinking of like running extension cords.
Oh yeah, like literal energy. That's funny.
Yeah. No, like mostly what I would. Okay, so what I'm getting to is the best part about this for me, anyways, was that there was a mascot, and the mascot was tall, like it was a tall suit, and because I was one of the taller, and I think one of only 2 or 3 guys out of the dozen of us that were in that ambassadorship group. Most people were wary to put on the mascot because you get into it and you get sweaty, and then
disgusting.
It gets cleaned once a year, but it has to get sent to Regina or something to get like dry cleaned or whatever. And so otherwise it just stays in the ambassador room or whatever, in its box or its closet or whatever. So you want the same person,
and so it's their sweat every time.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're really excited to like put on a costume, and it's like the sweat's dried up by then, so you just kind of do it. And it's not that big of a deal. You guys put on your bicycle helmets without washing them all the time. They have those little felt pads that you never think about.
People's hockey bags. Did it smell like a hockey bag? Because that's like gag worthy.
Yeah.
It was never as potent as a hockey bag, but I can understand what you're saying. So
I wouldn't want to wear somebody else's work
or hockey gloves. Oh, yuck.
Bottom line is, I got to be the mascot, and I pretty much reserved that right because of all of the reasons and reactions you were giving me right now. And it was great.
Loved it.
It had nothing to do with the fact that you were anonymous, essentially, because nobody could really see into the outfit, because you did need people walking with you. It was a little bit spatially difficult to comprehend where you were, having this big mascot thing on your head, but you were also in this it was like a full onesie, and then you had mitts on, so you couldn't really pick anything up.
Just smack people in the face.
Yeah, it was super fun. We would like run around at school events, and we'd like high five kids, and other students would want to get photos with us, and there'd always be like the quirky kids that wanted to hug you or whatever, and it was like, fine, it's whatever. There's like a whole mascot in between me and them, and don't really care. It was just fun to be there and be energetic
hug
and
all the
have
quirks.
Nobody know who you were, and sorry, I guess that makes it sound like the anonymity of it was enticing, but like it literally had nothing to do with that for me. It was just fun to do that, like fun to be a part of things, because I liked to be a part of things. And so, that's something that I did for grade 10, 11, and 12.
What was your mascot's name? You don't know it. You don't know it. You were the mascot and you don't know its name?
Well,
when people ran up to you, they were like, Bear!
Well, I think it was like Barrington or something like that, because I remember asking if the mascot had a name, and the people that I asked were like uncertain as to whether there was an official name for it or whether they just called it the Bear. But like we had an internal name that we would refer to him. But I think it was something like Barrington the Bear or something like that. Like it was pretty cheesy, and it wasn't.
I mean, they always are. That's why I wanted to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's one of my highlights.
Cool. So I went to high school in Warman, and I moved to Warman halfway through grade 8.
Was it City Warman or Town Warman at that point?
I transitioned halfway through.
Oh.
Nice. Okay. So we're getting like a good mix of experiences here. I love it.
Yeah. So it was really growing at the time that I was there. So there was new students pretty much every year. But yeah, I moved to Warman halfway through grade 8, but I didn't start attending the school there until the start of grade 9. So I would start in the, beginning of what was high school, because that was 9 to 12. I, in school, was a terribly not terribly, but I was a particularly shy person. I wasn't one for like goofing off in class. I was a pretty big nerd. I got pretty good grades. Partially because I sucked up to teachers a lot. Refer to elementary school podcast for more stories about that. That definitely helped. But I did well in school and enjoyed it. And so I hung out with a lot of the other female nerds. There was a separate like male nerds club. Not club, but clique.
Yeah.
Like unofficial grouping.
Yeah. But honestly, I am so grateful for the friends that I made in high school. In the very beginning of grade 9, there was another new girl who had just moved to the town as well, named Robin. And so we met each other on like the very first day of school and were inseparable throughout high school. Nice. So I pretty much like was called Robin or Ashlyn because teachers would screw up our names constantly, or we'd get handed each other's homework and just switch. We're that kind of like couple that just like we planned all of our classes with what classes they were taking and always sat together and stuff. So it was lots of fun. But I also made a ton more friends in high school. My maid of honor and one of my bridesmaids at my wedding were both friends that I met in high school. So I'm really, really grateful for them, and they made the new school experience a lot better. But being someone who is more of an academic, who's not very sportsy, I wanted to be able to get involved in something. And so Robin and I were both involved in the welcoming committee, which I think is similar to your energy club or whatever you're calling it. I'm sorry.
the extension cord.
Crystal Place.
Yeah.
So the welcoming committee would help out at like school events with like when sports teams were staying over, you'd like show them where their classroom was and where they could get different supplies or sell tickets at events, things like that.
Hospitality.
Wait, sorry, hold up. Why were sports teams staying over at your school? Like,
did that not happen to you?
This is rural schools.
Yeah.
Whoa, no, this is not a thing.
Age.
No. We're in the city. When I grew, like, because I grew up in the city, all the high schools were like in the city and everybody lived generally in the city. So explain really quickly if you can without me derailing you too much.
Well, I think Holly and I probably have the same experience.
Absolutely.
Sure.
With rural schools.
Sure.
So your school community of like other schools that you're competing against for sports and arts and different things are all long distances away from you, and they don't live in the same area. So they would have to bus in with all of their equipment for whatever they're doing, stay at either the high school on like cots or whatever the high school had, or stay in a local hotel, and then they would just like store a lot of their stuff at the high school, and that usually they would get their own classroom as kind of like a locker room, quote unquote, to be able to store bags. And
I thought they like went to school with you for like it was like a week-long thing.
No, it was usually just like over a weekend for like a basketball tournament or whatever.
Okay.
But I did that,
and we
had in city schools too. We had a few tournaments in schools that were in large cities, and they hosted us. Like we had a classroom to sleep in, and stuff.
Well, because you were from out of town, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that your school never encountered that.
Not to my knowledge, but it's possible. Like, I mean, we always did football or basketball or whatever against other teams in the city, right? So
interesting.
Yeah, and at the time when I went to Warman High School, I don't know if this is still the case, but we had the largest high school gym in Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow.
So
really?
Even bigger than the city schools. It has like a large running track that runs around the second floor of the gym. It's absolutely massive. So we did a lot of sports events.
Is it like a multiplex kind of situation?
I don't know the definition of multiplex, but it was
it's just
really
like
big.
One of those giant centers that has like a running track, and it also is like connected sometimes to like a library, and that the whole town or city also uses the lot. Like,
I don't know, there was like a separate workout room next to the gym area, which there was like big dividers that you could put up to separate the different areas of the gym, and then a huge running track around the second level. So
but there wasn't but it wasn't like a public space. It was a school
no,
space.
people from the community would like get passes to walk around.
Oh,
on the
okay.
track
Yeah,
and
so
things
that's
like that.
that's basically what I'm thinking of as regards to a multiplex. But
Yeah, and as
anyways.
students, you were allowed to use the track whenever the school was open, which included a lot of time right after school. It was open for quite a few hours, so you'd be able to just like go for a run on the track afterwards.
Nice.
And that's kind of where I started running because it was so nice. The floor
Yeah.
was like the perfect amount of squish, so your knees don't hurt as much, and it's nice and big, so you're not constantly turning corners. It was really nice.
Cool.
But what I was most involved with in high school was drama. I loved it.
Drama. Also, see elementary school episodes for more drama from Ashlyn.
That's a different guy.
So I joined drama very first thing in grade 9 for the extracurricular drama, and we did a play. It was so much fun. And then in grade 10, our school for the very first time started competing in one-act festivals. So if you're not familiar with that, Saskatchewan has a one-act festival competition that schools can enter. There's regionals, and then the winners from regionals can move on to provincials. And there's adjudicators who are like prominent local directors and artists who will adjudicate these one-act plays, which are generally between like 20 to 40 minutes long. So they're shorter,
smokes.
but still a large production.
That's awesome.
So we had one-act plays in our high school as well, because we had a whole theater. The thing about Bowman, the school that I went to, was that it was like a big drama / arts / like music school. Not that other schools in the city didn't have those, but this one specifically had a theater built onto it and like a band room and everything. It's like its main thing was like skewing towards the art side of things. Not that they didn't have good sports programs, but that drama was a big thing. And so we would have one acts there. And I remember that one night we had a one act, like they would show several in a row. And one of the one acts was like 15 minutes and all the other ones were like 5-ish minutes. And that 15-minute one was so long. I was like, this is one act. We need to be done this now. So how did you manage 20 to 40-minute one acts is what I'm saying.
I'm just impressed.
Yeah. In our grade 10 year was the very first year our school had ever competed in the Saskatchewan one-act competitions.
That's so cool.
And so we were with another set of rural schools. And so it was, I believe, in Rosetown where we were competing for our regionals, and our play in grade 10 was about a school going to a one-act festival.
Super
But we
meta.
had never been before, so it was a bit of like irony because it's all these new kids pretending to be like seasoned professionals at
That's
these
so
like
great.
one-act shows. It was a lot of fun. I played 2 different characters. And it was this play about like different schools competing against each other. It was super fun. So we went to regionals and we won regionals, which was super exciting. So we got to go to provincials, which was in Regina, and you get to compete on the big Regina theater stage at the university.
Oh, that's so nerve-wracking.
And it was thrilling. We didn't win provincials, but they also give out awards to individual actors. So I won some awards at regionals, and it was a really positive experience for us. And we all got to go as a team. And it's this interesting way to make drama into this like cool team sport where you're all working together towards a common goal. It was lots of fun.
Okay, yeah.
But our very first time we ever competed was at the regionals in Rosetown, and we were right after we were a comedy play. And we were right after a play about teen suicide.
Oh boy.
Bad timing.
The theater was like silent.
Rigged.
And there was like snivels in the background, and we were like coming on to do this comedy. So we were super nervous. So we were happy that we did well.
I mean, people probably needed it after that. They were like,
Yep.
I would like to think about something else.
Yeah. And then in grade 11, we competed in the city. We were in that region, and so we didn't win regionals, unfortunately. So it was just the one festival, and that was it. And then in my grade 12 year, we were in the city again. So we competed in regionals, and we won regionals. We went to provincials, and we won provincials in my grade 12 year, which is just like so
icing
thrilling.
on the cake.
So,
and the cool thing about our school. The cool thing about our school was we had a very small arts budget. So it actually worked pretty well with one acts because you need something that's easily movable because you're moving sets all the time. So what's more important than a big budget is a big creative mind and be able to take simple set pieces, simple props, and be able to move them in different ways. So we had these big black theater boxes that we would stack on top of each other to create kind of dimension and different levels on the stage where people would be standing over top of them. And we would have like simple props that would be used as multiple different things throughout the show. Our directors, which were just teacher volunteers, were fantastic at coming up with really creative ways to use the things that we had. It was so much fun. So that was the peak of my high school, was doing drama auditions every year. And because there wasn't that many kids that were interested in drama, a lot of people who auditioned ended up getting a role and would be fit in somewhere because there wasn't that many kids. But it was super fun, and I made a lot of friends through it.
That's super fun.
I'm sad that none of the rest of you guys got to compete in one-act festivals.
I didn't know that was a thing. Saying, like, what you were describing as making drama into a team sport, like, I played a lot of team sports and I loved drama, but I never did it. I did it through church, but I never got to do it in school because our school barely got an arts program by the time I graduated that I had to fight for. But I would have friggin' loved that. That's right up my alley because I loved like sports, our competitive sports that
we
were
got to
team
travel
based.
Around, see a bunch of other plays. It was really cool.
That would be great. I'm very jealous.
For grade 12, for us, we moved back to Saskatoon. And so I kind of finished up high school here. So I got a bit of a flavor for like Canadian high school. And in terms of drama, we didn't do like, one act plays, but we did do like musicals and stuff. And that was a lot of fun. But again, it doesn't have that kind of competitive team sort of edge to it, which definitely sounds like a lot of fun. So.
What drama musical did you do? Or were you not involved with it, but the school did it?
Yeah, no, I was in, we did White Christmas, Irving Berlin's White Christmas.
Okay.
And my prominent role was the train conductor. So I would go through the stage saying, Providence, Rhode Island, arriving Providence, and
Ooh, still knows his lines.
Oh yeah, and I was also backup chorus for like doing backup vocals, and I can't harmonize for the life of me, so I kind of just I don't know what it sounded like from the audience, but I'm pretty sure I didn't help the team much. So
funny.
We did the same kind of thing in my high school, where when I was in grade 9, that was the on year for every other year where they would do a musical. So it was every 2 years. So I was in grade 9, we did Oklahoma. So that was really fun. I got to be a part of that. And then in grade 11, we were, they did Cabaret. And I had zero interest in being involved with that. It was too mature of a play, I thought, for even what high school should be performing, but also for what I wanted to be involved with. And I think one of the humble brag moments for me in grade 11 was when maybe I'm getting this mixed up. Maybe it was grade 10 and grade 12. I think that might have been what the situation was, because I was excited that my last year I was also going to be able to be in a musical in my last year at school, but that never happened because they did Cabaret and I didn't want to be involved with it. But I did have one of the drama teachers come to me and be like, "Are you going to audition for this play?" And I was like, "No, I don't really have an interest in it." And they were like, "Okay, well, we really need some other decent men actors in this play." And so I felt kind of like good about it that by the time I was in grade 12, had been in, we did Oklahoma, and then I was also in, we did a production of Thumbelina in a following year. And so like I had at least made a decent name for myself, that people knew that I was able to
We're
act.
famous.
And well, it just made me like, I was like proud of it. I was like, oh, that's like, this is great. Like I'm glad that you think that I'm like a great or like
Thanks,
a phenomenal actor,
no.
or just one of the 3 guys that they needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely had a lot more interest from the women auditioning or from women to audition for the drama stuff than they had for guys. And so they were always hurting for guys regardless. But I just remember that in grade 9 and 10, the grade 11s and 12s, which we just always referred to them as the seniors, there were so many guys that were seniors that were just like really, they weren't like diehard drama people, but they were just so heavily invested in it that they filled out the main cast of Oklahoma for both casts that we had.
Wow.
Because there was so many guys and there were girls as well. But it was just like, it was really cool to see that there was like an actual energy for it. Besides, by the time I was in grade 11 and 12, it was like, if you weren't a guy that was in basketball or football, then you really like you weren't popular and nobody cared. And, you know, that whole high school,
Cliche.
rigmarole. But yeah. So that was one of my finer moments, I guess. Do you, Greg or Holly, do you two have any like happy stories that you want to share with us before we sign off?
Greg did drama. That was happy.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
And he came
But he
back.
was
That was happy. Like I would just say, just kind of reflecting on the whole like high school, elementary, and college experiences. I definitely see how high school, the relationships that I made there somehow actually like lasted longer than any of the like relationships that I made in like elementary or college. Just because I think elementary, like we were pretty young and we're still trying to like kind of figuring out who we are. And like I have people from elementary school on Facebook who, you know, I'm friends with on Facebook, but it's just weird. Kind of seeing where they're at. And like, even if I've like engaged in some amount of discussion, it's just like, we're just totally different people from who we were. Right.
Like
so
married and 2 kids deep into the relationship and they're like just bought a house and you're like, excuse me?
Working on a master's or working on, you know, like in videography, like doing like a thriller movie or something, you know, like, and so things like that, where it's just like very different streams of like where people are kind of trajectories where people are headed. Whereas I think by high school, you kind of at least get a sense for who you are as a person. And so you get attracted to kind of like-minded people. You're not just hanging out because you have to. So I feel like, high school experiences, those friends who I have there are friends who I still have and will like still communicate with. Obviously not everyone, but when I compare it to like college, where you just kind of go from class to class, you might like talk with some people here and there. You really don't develop those long-term relationships because you're not in the same classes all day together. And you're, you know, at all. And you're not even like, it's usually too huge of a city almost, you know, like in its own right to do that. So I think what's cool about high school for me is just that like that those years are what kind of have cultivated really good relationships that I can be like, these are friends who I know I will have for a long time, and I can pick up those relationships even if we haven't talked for a while. So
I think for Holly and I, it's different than that. I think it's probably a lot more of the relationships we've made since high school. Whether that be in college or outside of actual college itself. I think that for me, it was because I was in the city and like I had friends that lasted for several years outside of high school, but you know, like slowly you start to fall away from those people and you go different directions and you see them now and again at the grocery store and you say hi, but you're not like thinking of them at, you know, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. after you get home from work to like call up and say, hey, let's go for a bike ride anymore. And it's like, I kind of reminisce and like miss those days at times. And then other times I'm just like, you know what, you know, like life moves on. And like, if you have those relationships and you've kept them, then that's awesome. That's great. And keep powering through with that. But like, don't let it dissuade you from building new relationships outside of school. And I mean, like now I'm 11, 12 years out of high school, which is bonkers to think about.
Yeah.
But of
crazy.
course my relationships are going to have changed with those people, and I'm going to have made new relationships, so.
I have a happy story for you that is slightly drama related.
Ooh.
Maybe it was grade 11, because I think we did it twice. So my school was the Riley Rebels. That was our teams' names, all of the teams. And so three of my friends and I think it was one of my friends' initial ideas, but the four of us ran with it. We decided, we had heard about the crisis in Rwanda, the genocide that was happening there, or that had happened there. And
Okay.
we heard about a charity that was specifically giving blankets and food to the women who had been affected by those events, because they were no longer accepted by either group of people. Like the one group of people was killing off and pillaging and doing terrible things to the other group of people, but once you had the terrible things done to you, then you weren't accepted with your original group of people either. And so there were this group of women that wasn't accepted anywhere, and then had no way to live, basically. And so we heard about this issue and got passionate about it. I don't know if that was the first terrible thing that we had heard in our lives, or why we were passionate about this and not something else. Mm-hmm. But we organized basically a talent show for the community, where the kids at the school would do acts, and mm-hmm. we called it Rebel Palooza because we were the Riley Rebels. And we made stickers and got food donated and everything, and then sold tickets, and all of the proceeds went to this charity that was for these women. And I think that that's the proudest thing that I've ever I did in high school.
You and cool. How many students?
Three others. We had a teacher that got in on it pretty heavily too. Like, she helped us with some of the things that you don't think about when you're a kid, like you actually have to book a venue, right? And
right.
So she
the logistics of it. Yeah.
And she wouldn't do anything on her own though. It was very much ours. She would bring these are 3 venues that we could choose. Which one do you want? These are the prices,
That's
that
so
kind of thing,
cool.
and bring it all to us. It was really cool. Yeah. And I still have
Mm-hmm.
a sticker from it actually on our bookshelf here. But I think that's the coolest thing that I did. I mean, I'm proud of my rebel taking down the French teacher experience as well, but
but the Rebel Palooza was much better.
Was better. Yeah. And then the school caught on to it because we did it 2 years in a row, and then once we graduated, they continued it. I'm not sure if they continued until now. The school has, like I mentioned before, is having some structural changes to the way that it works right now. So probably not this year, but I don't know how long it lasted. But I do know that it lasted at least 3 or 4 years after we left.
Cool.
That's
super cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Mm-hmm. So there's a happy story for you.
Yeah, compared to elementary school where you're just even in high school, you're still discovering your identity as a person, and in college you're usually there for a very focused, not always, but usually you're there for a very focused reason. You're going for a certain degree or whatever job you're trying to get, but high school has the opportunity, and I can speak from my own experience only, but I can assume for some others, it has the opportunity to mature you if you allow the things that come your way during those 3, 4, 5 years of your life, because you're always super impressionable as a kid, but when you're in that age and you're starting to, like I mentioned earlier, starting to be aware of the world around you in ways that you weren't before, and just like you recognize a situation, you decide you want to do something about it, or you recognize how you interact with other people and you decide you want to change that or pursue it, and then that starts to grow who you are as a person, and that will continue to change. It doesn't have to like immediately and irrevocably, is that the word?
I have no idea.
No,
Irrevocably define. Irrevocably, right? Irrevocably.
Sure.
Irrevocably.
I don't think that's how you say it, but like, okay, I'll say it a couple different ways. Irrevocably. Irrevocably. Irrevocably? I don't know. I'm just going to stop there.
Irreverently.
Irreverently. That's different.
It doesn't have to concretely and completely define you for the rest of your life. Like, you're totally free to change and grow. But there are a lot of things about the high school years of my life that have carried through with me to make me into the person who I am today, and also make me aware and how to react to the world as I know to today. And like, that understanding has evolved. I'm not taking high school as a rule and just running with it, because that's like as mature as you need to be. But yeah, it's really cool, the things that you can do and the opportunities that come your way at that age, and the experiences that you can have. And like, I wouldn't trade it. Like, it wasn't all fun and games. Like, there were some crappy days, but
most of mine wasn't fun and games. I would not go back. 0%.
Well, I'm not saying that I wouldn't go back. I'm just simply saying that I don't know that I would particularly change any of my
what
experiences.
You did experience. Yeah. That's
yeah,
fair.
I wish I had experienced like additional things maybe, but I like, I'm completely satisfied with my experience from of high school and what that taught me, I guess.
You sure you don't want an Arabic class thrown in there?
Where you have to learn the alphabet in one day?
Yeah.
I took Japanese and that was pretty dope.
Did you have to learn the alphabet in one day?
No. But there are
fair.
3 different alphabets that we learned over the course of the 3 years that I took it.
That's so many. Good grief.
Yeah.
Whew.
Anyways.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. We have a variety of social media channels that we would love to connect with you on. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our Anchor FM page. Hit us up. We'd love to hear about some of your high school experiences. If you have something to share with us, feel free to contact us on any of those social media channels. And on our Anchor FM page, you can leave us audio messages that we could potentially play on a future episode. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.